KOCHIE's Business Builders is proudly brought to you by our partners Dell, PayPal, KPMG and Amex, who are helping small businesses grow.
Coming up on KOCHIE's Business Builders, athlete, Olympian, gold medalist and former senator Nova PERIS shares her latest venture. We meet the social entrepreneur disrupting the food waste landscape in Australia, and we get advice from an expert on how to transition from being a sole trader to a company. Hello and welcome to KOCHIE's Business Builders. We are passionate about connecting and supporting Australia's small businesses because at some point along the way, every entrepreneur needs a level of guidance to shine, even a gold medalist. Nova PERIS is a proud Australian Aboriginal woman. In 1996, she won a gold medal with the Hockeyroos at the Atlanta Olympic Games. In 97, she was awarded Young Australian of the Year. And in 98, she won a gold medal in the 200 metres and in the 4x100 relay at the Kuala Lumpur Commonwealth Games. In 2013, Nova was the first Aboriginal woman to be elected to the Australian Federal Parliament. And I've only just scratched the surface of Nova's impressive list of life achievements so far. For her latest venture, Nova is setting up the Nova PERIS Foundation, which is committed to empowering Aboriginal people to achieve life excellence. While the destination is clear to Nova, the steps to get there are not.
My relationship and profound love of the Tiwis is, my mum was sent there when she was 8 years old as a member of the stolen generation, so she lived there from the time she was 8 till she was 17. Because of the fact that my mum didn't have the freedom growing up on the mission on the Tiwis to participate freely in sport, and she left the Tiwis when she was 17 years old, and the level of education was that of a year 4. So I guess for me, maximising opportunity is something that's been inbred in me. You could have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have that desire to dream big, and if you don't have that supporting network, it's very hard to get out there and achieve those big dreams. The level of expectations for Aboriginal community is so low. So that was the basis of my foundation, getting it started. When you talk about empowerment of Aboriginal people and sustainability, it's giving them the tools and the resources so that they become self-sustainable.
The Nova PERIS Foundation is joining forces with Food Ladder to provide remote Aboriginal communities with hydroponic greenhouses and specialised training so they can grow fruit and vegetables and set up their own social enterprise. The Food Ladder greenhouses will be trialled on the Tiwi Islands with plans to roll out the agricultural technology in other remote communities right across the NT.
The basis of the Food Ladder system, the agriculture technology, which is cyclone coded, it's temperature controlled, it's solar panelled, it's water efficient, all the things that make it durable in remote community settings. You can produce enough food in the settings to feed up to 300 people per week with the type of produce that you can grow. What I'm saying is, I've got a solution, guys. And this is the solution. It's being able to almost change the face of community living and bring inspiration to the communities and bring jobs into communities. And, on the Tiwis, 85% of the Tiwi people don't have a job. There's a huge lack of unemployment on the Tiwis. We can create up to 30 to 40 jobs in doing what, I envisage doing. With the foundation work, it's not just the agriculture technology, but it's the smaller farms of it. It's the micro businesses. One of the things I did learn in sports is I had the talent, I had the desire, I had the dedication, but I needed a team around me to enable me to be successful. There's a whole team that enabled me and that hockey team to become successful. I'm here to leave a legacy behind which I want to be greater than any of my sporting achievements, and that is to be able to empower communities and to give their young kids hope.
What a heartwarming story. After the break, we find out how Aboriginal Investment Group can support Nova PERIS to achieve her latest goal. You do not want to miss this. Before the break, we met gold medalist Nova PERIS and learnt about her latest venture. Nova is setting up the Nova PERIS Foundation and needs help with bringing to life a vision she holds dear. So we sent in the Aboriginal Investment Group, which is committed to providing Indigenous organisations, business owners and budding entrepreneurs any business solutions they need to achieve success. Let's take a look at how AIG has helped Nova.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're all here to drive forward the Nova PERIS Foundation and to find wonderful solutions to some challenges that the organisation is facing at the moment.
From our perspective, we've done our business plan and we had to do that, and we've done that over the past 12 months, which we had to use to submit to get our ACNC status. It's like, okay, we've got a business plan, now we need a strategic plan, and I guess that's why we're here.
The strategic plan is sort of inward looking. The business plan goes to your external audience, and usually you use that to get funding. So components of a strategic plan, right? The most important thing you were referring to is that why, okay? So that's sort of the most important component of your strategic plan. Why am I doing all this? The next one, the next circle is a how. How am I going to do this? And the last one is really the what. What am I doing? The vision statement has to be super short, sharp, extremely emotional, and it needs to capture your audience. Your staff reads it, or your stakeholders, and they know the journey you're going to take them on.
Yeah.
Mission statement, it's really like, who am I, and what's my approach, and what's my objectives?
What is your desired future position for Aboriginal communities?
To give Aboriginal people hope, opportunities and choices.
Communities are wonderful, wonderful places. We're looking to enhance them and to see some of the kids that may not have to leave community because they can do the things they wanted to do entrepreneurially there in the community.
And it's also really important to think about what's different about your approach, because it has been done many gazillion times in communities, and why is your solution going to work?
One thing it does that the others don't do, it's actually brought underlying cultural obligations and underlying cultural things into it. So Nova, to some degree, has got cultural authority. Yeah.
Mob know me that I'm just not going for 2 hours and you don't see me. I sit on the ground, I talk to people, I understand them. What I'm trying to say is I can see through their lens. We have community buy-in. The community are all on board. I have a board, the letters of support, because we are on Aboriginal land. We've got support from the Tiwi Island Regional Authority and local politicians. I love my sporting analogies, like the great Rick Charlesworth said, in order to get to the Olympic gold medal, our motto was a poco, a poco. Yeah. Little by little. Little by little, you're going to achieve the big things, and I know that if the I's aren't dotted and the T's, you're going to come unstuck, and I don't want this to come unstuck.
It'll be terrific to see how the Nova PERIS Foundation grows from here and the impact it will have on the people of the Northern Territory. Good on you, Nova. We wish you all of the best.
Hi, my name is MATEJ VARHALIK and I'm a CEO and co-founder of SpeedFit. SpeedFit is a chain of personal training studios where we combine personal training with electromuscle stimulation. That combination creates very efficient workout, so our clients come only once a week for 20-minute session. My top 3 tips to grow the business will be, in the first place, to figure out what will be the end goal of your business, and if you actually like what you are building, is it the market size actually big enough to make a really successful, meaningful business? Once you know that, then the second tip will be start with a small model, go there and test it. See if the customers actually want your product or your service. And once you know that, the third thing will be surround yourself with the right people. Those people will help you to grow the business and hire the professionals as soon as possible to do what you actually hate the most. So you can keep doing what you love and get other guys doing what you hate to do.
Thanks to the Dell Women's Entrepreneur Network, we continue our series looking at female founders across the country, making a real difference in the Australian business landscape. Back now is Dell Technologies Ambassador Jo Burston to tell us about this week's entrepreneur in the spotlight, RONNI KAHN at OzHarvest.
17 years later, and OzHarvest has grown to become a critical frontline service across the country by serving over 190 million meals to the disadvantaged. We spoke to RONNI to find out more about her passion project that's tackling not just a humanitarian issue, but solving an environmental one in the process.
My name is RONNI KAHN. I'm the founder and CEO of OzHarvest. OzHarvest is Australia's leading food rescue organisation. We collect surplus food from everywhere in the food supply chain, and we deliver that food for free to vulnerable people so that it does not go to landfill and rather fills bellies. OzHarvest has more than 240 people working for us across the country. That's full-time, part-time, casual, but everybody committed and connected and working for OzHarvest. Every day at OzHarvest, we have a fleet of vehicles. They're refrigerated, and they collect surplus food from everywhere in the food supply chain and deliver it to over 1,600 charitable organisations across Australia. Before the end of 2021, OzHarvest will have collected and delivered more than 200 million meals. So I was running an events company. All of my events had food, and each time I saw that there was surplus. And I suddenly had this idea that what if I took that surplus to a charity? And the first one I knew was Matthew Talbot. And that really was the genesis of starting OzHarvest. One of the biggest challenges we face in 2021, and because of COVID-19, is that for the very first time, OzHarvest has had to purchase food to meet the demand. And because of panic buying and supply chain logistics issues, the constant supply of free food has shifted and changed. And so this has changed our model significantly. So one of the most powerful things about OzHarvest is not only are we a social organisation, but we're also an environmental fighting organisation. We're in climate activists because wasting food is directly connected to climate change. And most people don't know that. If food waste was a country, it would be the third biggest emitter of methane gas behind the US and China. I believe that network groups are really powerful, and particularly for female entrepreneurs. Leadership can be a very daunting place, and a network group is a safe and private place where one can share one's true emotions. And that's why I think for females, a networking group is so powerful. So from an innovation point of view, because innovation is part of our DNA, OzHarvest started the For Purpose Co. And that is a separate business to come up with great ideas that allow that all around sustainability, all around not wasting food, all around ag tech, in order to try and create a revenue stream that all profits come back to OzHarvest. The best piece of business advice I ever received was be as authentic as you can, be who you are, and give up on PowerPoint.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel Anthony, the co-owner and CEO of Muscle Nation. Muscle Nation is one of Australia's largest activewear, supplement and health food businesses. My top 3 tips for business success are: number 1, build a community. It was always our vision to focus on the customer rather than the product. Bring your customers along for the journey. Anything you can do to connect with your customer, you should do, because in the long run, they're going to stay loyal to you and they're going to see you as more than just another company trying to sell them a product. Number 2, maintain that small business culture. Here at Muscle Nation, no one person is tied to a specific role or job. Whenever it's needed, everyone comes together to make the project or whatever we're doing at the time a success. Number 3, Give back. Here at Muscle Nation, giving back has been an integral part of our business from day one. Some of the charities and causes we are working with include Breast Cancer Month, NAIDOC Week, the Royal Children's Hospital, and the Australian bushfires.
In just over 5 years, Muscle Nation has gone from a Brisbane-based startup to a multi-million-dollar e-commerce platform, achieving 87% growth year on year. This year, they landed a deal with Coles, which is their first foray into the national supermarket sector, and has their products stocked on the health food shelves of 833 stores. Pretty unbelievable, isn't it? So thanks, Nathaniel, for sharing your top 3 tips for business success and highlighting the foundation that has supported your impressive growth to date. Stay tuned. After the break, we get advice from an expert on how to transition from being a sole trader to forming a company. Welcome back. Now, the pandemic is driving a career reboot amongst Australians, and it's set to impact businesses right across the nation. Some fascinating research by MYOB shows Aussies are re-evaluating their work choices, and training is now more important than ever. This appetite to learn on the job is giving small businesses the opportunity to really rethink how they can provide upskilling to attract the best talent. Joining me to explain the trends and how your business can capitalise on them is Sally Elson, Head of People and Talent at MYOB. Sally, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Why is it so important for businesses to have training and development programs?
Aussies are reflecting on future and upskilling as a priority. 63% said that the COVID-19 pandemic inspired them to retrain and upskill. So the top reasons for this retraining and upskilling are around employment stability, career progression, and the increased flexibility.
How can businesses benefit from upskilling staff?
Graduate and upskilling programs are the new way for businesses to attract and retain talent. So those that have applied for a graduate or upskilling program or internship or are planning to upskill, 64% are talking about a career change, 35% entering the professional workforce for the first time. But of those, 78% intend to stay with the company. So really driving that retention in a time when we know we've got a really tight market for talent.
What do businesses need to assess if they're thinking about providing learning and development to their staff?
Businesses should absolutely think around what it is in their business is changing, what's their evolution, and what are those market-driven changes that are impacting them, but then also listening to their employees around what training and development needs are for them, and then they can make an assessment on where they should be investing.
Thanks for giving us your insights, Sally.
Thank you.
And finally, for this week's Ask Kochie, a question from photographer CARRIE RHEINBERGER, who's thinking about changing her business structure.
Hi Kochie, it's Carrie from Six Crows Fine Art Photography. So my business has reached a point where it might be beneficial for me to think about forming a company. What advice would you have around this, and what do you see as the pros and cons?
Carrie, every business goes through that, so you're not alone. Help me answer it. I'm bringing in Nicholas Stewart, partner at law firm Dowson Turco. Carrie's situation is just so typical, isn't it? Everyone starts as a sole trader, which is good. It's cheap, it's simple, but it comes with limitations and liabilities, doesn't it? What are the risks?
Look, it does. The risks are huge, really. You've got a family home, you might have personal assets. You don't want to mix those up with your business. You don't want to risk your life savings or your personal property just because you're taking on a risk as a business. So our commercial team tells people, think about creating a separate legal entity like a company.
Okay, so what are the benefits of a company structure?
I think the 4 main benefits are probably 1, you have a separate legal entity, so separate to yourself. 2, you can raise funds more easily. As a sole trader, you're going to the bank, seeking money through loans. As a company, you can offer shares, raise capital that way. The 3rd thing is probably integrity or credibility. If you've got a company structure, you can represent to the world that you're a sophisticated operation and that you're trading for perpetuity. If you pass on or you don't want to run the business anymore, the business can keep on going. It can survive without you.
Yeah. It comes with a lot more reporting and accountability, doesn't it?
It does. You only want to think about incorporating when you're at a level where your revenue is probably going to meet the expenses of running a company. You have to register a company, you need a constitution, you're going to have to seek tax advice, speak to lawyers, and there's compliance fees. You have to file financial statements every year. There are reporting requirements and it is a costly structure, but at the same time, you can write off those expenses against profits.
Right, okay. So as a rule of thumb, how big do you need to be to think about changing from a sole trader? What are the costs of administration for a company?
I think it depends on the circumstances of the business and how you're operating, but a revenue, you know, if your revenue's up at towards $100,000, $150,000, you might want to start thinking about incorporating. But there are also other structures you might want to consider as well, partnership structures, trusts. Yep. There are all kinds of structures, but it's best to speak to a professional.
Carrie, the big advice is here, if you're thinking of doing it, make sure you get good advice from a lawyer or an accountant. Nicholas, thanks for those tips. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And that's all we have time for today. Big thank you to all of our guests who appeared on the show and made it so special. If you want more tips and tricks to help you on your business journey, head to koshiesbusinessbuilders.com.au, a key resource for Australia's small businesses. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I will see you same time next week.